I haven't done any sketchbook tours in the past, even though I have a bunch of sketchbooks. So I think I'm going to start, but I'm going to start from the most recent one. There are a few pages at the beginning, probably 10 or so, that are from 2015 when I first got the sketchbook, and then I left it in the US. And I only picked it up this last time when I went for a visit last October. Yeah, last October. So from the time I got back to Europe in December until March was when this one was mainly used. So without further ado. And this was all after I got back because I was trying to do some stamps. I think this was this one. Yeah. I was trying to make some little linoleum stamps that I could use for the drawings. And I ended up making one that looks like this. And that's pretty much what I use for everything. So yeah, just a little bit of reason why this looks like a toddler got a hold of it. All right. And then this page is from August 2015. And I hadn't really figured out how to use a pen as well at that point from the looks of it. Because you can see I'm making notes. So it's like 0.1 millimeter extra small, 0.4 millimeter small, and then stupid puns. So like this is a face, but this is a mouse that I made into a computer mouse with someone in a bathtub and a rat cat, some weird face, an ostrich, more weird faces. Yeah, like I don't know. It was crap. I was drawing whatever I could. So this is my cat at the time. And then I was trying things out with eyes, and this one was better, and this one was bad, or handles on some sort of door. I don't know. It basically, like I said, these were just really, really shit for a while. I wasn't too displeased with this, but it's a toilet. These ones look like, yeah, this is when my grandfather was in the hospital. And also at rehab. But it was a hospital bed. His little like slipper shoes, some note to avoid Northeast and 82nd Street because there are gangs and prostitutes. Just in case anyone was curious. Random faces. I'm not really sure. Anyways, I'm not going to spend too much time on these because, again, they're pretty old. So I like the imagination in this page. There's this weird little butler guy with a giant hat. Reminds me of something from Nightmare Before Christmas. And a little rat that's riding around on a Scottish Terrier, it looks like, with a light. It says Home James. And then this weird bird thing is dreaming about the drink. The drink is dreaming about being drunk. It wants to be devoured. And then this is before I left for Europe. I was actually not planning to come here. I was going to move to Portland in Oregon, and this was only supposed to be a short trip. And then I never went back. This was something stupid. I don't know what I was trying. These are different artists, I believe. Yeah, 100%. Look at me. A follower of Hieronymus Bosch. Look up. As if, I don't think I knew who he was. Some facial studies, some trying to write with my left hand. More people from the hospital, maybe? It's all the same chairs, so I feel like this was still related to rehab. Trying cars, testing, still testing. Trying to figure out musculature, but obviously I was studying comic people, and that's not really a great starting point. Brainstorming ideas, sketching the same thing more time, people sketching, Walmart. And now we're at the point, the current point in time. So this is when I got back to Europe. And this was actually most of the drawings in this sketchbook. I don't know why, but I wanted to spend a little bit more time. So there's still only, I don't know, half hour for most. They're not very big, so they didn't take very long. But this was a drawing from a couple of guys that I had seen in Sofia, in Bulgaria. And I really, really liked the composition and the look, even though the guys themselves looked super depressed. I don't know. Yeah, it clicked with me. This was a picture of me from 2017 that I drew. But again, everything from this point on. And this is a different stamp, so this isn't this one, because this one's a solid red. This was like a smaller version of the first one that I made. And I didn't like it, so it only got used for a few drawings. I think just 2 drawings. No, 1. Just this one is the only one that has that. Everything. And then it goes to the one I'm using now. Nope, I lied. All right, we'll cover that in a second. I was trying to write with my left hand again because in the past I've had a lot of stupid ass anger issues, so I would always fuck up my hand. And I was afraid that at some point in time, I was going to bust this hand completely, and I would need to know how to use my left hand since I'm working solely with my hands. Yeah, so this was already here before. This was here from 2015 still. And the guy was from right before the COVID-19 came through and the quarantines were put in place, the curfews. So this was right before that. I was out and I was taking some photos, and this garbage guy pushing his cart along. I don't know. I really liked his expression and the pose and general placement. So this is just to cover this. This one's from March. So this is one of the last ones in this sketchbook. Whereas everything else is pretty much chronological. So this is going back to December again, the end of December. Yeah, this is an old guy on public transit here in Belgrade. I'm not really sure. Kind of just his expression, I guess. This is Santa Claus in my mind. I do this thing where I like close my eyes or I look away. It doesn't really matter what you do. Even you can have your eyes open as long as you're not focusing too much. But what I do is I draw just a random line, a scribble of a line, and then I try to make that line into a discernible face. Find the features in it, and sometimes more. Sometimes as many faces as I can find in that figure. But this one was just one. And I think it was just because it was around, it was a week after Christmas, actually. 2 weeks. So I'm not sure why I did it as Santa Claus, but maybe because all the decorations and shit were still up. But I titled it, He Sees You When You're Sleeping, because he creeped me the fuck out. And that made me think of the like kids jingle that said, where it's like, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. And out of context, it's really creepy. So it seemed like, like a nice fitting. I need to do more with watercolor because I like this one a lot, actually. But most of the time, the pens that I use, they're not suitable for watercolor because they're not waterproof. So if I go over it with watercolor, I smear everything into just this weird blob of grayish matter. And it's, yeah. This was a woman from Istanbul, and she actually had someone sitting right here next to her, but I really wanted to focus on her look because she was just so pissed off looking at the world. Like so closed up, like so just compressed in to herself, staying as far away as she could from everyone else. Like, I don't know how, but she had a gap between, and everywhere else on this metro was essentially full. So it was really strange. It stuck out. So obviously, as with everything else, that's what I drew. This woman was from a few years ago. It was when I was driving to Austria. What did I do? I broke or I lost or something my stylus for my tablet. I think I lost it. I had to buy a new one for some reason. So maybe I broke it. I'm not sure. Or maybe it was just the tips. They're like little nibs that go inside of it. And yeah, these, fuck it. You can't see. These little things, they're replaceable. And it doesn't matter now because the tablet that I was using them for, the digitizer is messed up inside and I can't use a stylus. So I'm stuck to my old one now. But yeah, anyways, I was driving to Austria because that was the closest place that would have the electronics store that would carry the parts for my computer. And I couldn't order anything here without it doubling in cost. Like if I would have gone through Amazon, it was 60 euros for the stylus and 60 euros for the shipping and import tariff. So I could rent a car for like 200 and drive there. So that's what I did. I rented a car, I drove there, and then I slept in the car outside of the store, or on the street somewhere actually. I just bought a blanket and a pillow and slept in the trunk. It was a hatchback, so it was comfy. But anyways, this woman was in Slovenia, in just some small town. So she was just pulling her suitcase along. I'm not really sure where she came from, though. I guess just the bus, because there's really a tiny little town, cobblestone type thing. Anyways, this is a drawing from a photo from 2018 when I was in Turkey, hitchhiking from Antalya back to Istanbul. And yeah, this is when we were at the ruins. Phasaelis, something like this. I can't remember. It was at some old ancient ruins, and I really liked the photo. So this was when I was dipping a bit back and trying some things out. So I did a few like this afterwards, maybe just 2 or 3. But doing the full background and then using a white gel pen to go over top to try to differentiate the foreground from the background to make it feel almost like a cutout. The image was just some fisherman that I saw when I was in Italy in 2016. But yeah, I was trying to play with that. I was trying to play with like the contour of the rocks and using my lines in different ways. Yeah, it was just playing around. This is the guy from France. He was playing an accordion. So I don't know, I'll probably draw him in full posture, or I'll paint him at some point in time. We'll see. But he was really joyous with his music, but his face didn't match at all. He looked pissed or disappointed, sad. I'm not really sure. He didn't have a face that looked like he was enjoying what he was doing, but the music he was making was beautiful. So maybe that was his focusing face. Hard to say. This is another one of those weird draw a line and then make it into things, which is why it has, there's the main face, there's the old lady face, there's the face here, and then there's the other face, I think just the one more that was right here. So this is like the hair for this woman. And I enjoy doing these. I don't know why I haven't done them in a while. Maybe I'll do one today. It just it's freeing, not having to think about it. Sorry for the sound. I think the heater is running in the background, so it just kicked on and kicked off again. This one was a sketch from a photo that I took in Switzerland, I think, near Bern. There was a nature park that overlooked the city, and there was this old guy walking around with friends or family or something. I'm not sure. But anyways, he just had this like contemplative, appreciative look. And generally the nature there is beautiful anyways. The country takes really good care of those sorts of things. So it's something that I missed. Maybe that's why I was doing it, because This is when I'm inside in January in Belgrade, which is a concrete jungle. I kind of went through a barren Switzerland phase, I guess, because I think this was also there, either there or Zurich. But this is a guy sitting, there was actually a big tree right here, but he's sitting there reading something, drinking, I think it was just like a Red Bull. Woman back there is drinking a beer. I don't really have anything else to say. I just like the image. Memories. This is a guy, Pavle, that I painted with in July of this last year. I think it was July. And at one point he had asked me if I could draw him because I was posting all these other weird portraits and funny shit. And the first one I did captured the look really well because he kind of looked a little drunk in the photo that I got. But I wasn't sure, something was off. So then I tried to redo it, but I still think this is my favorite, even though the other one is technically better. Something in this one captures the essence a bit more. So anyways, and then there's this one, and this is where I needed to work more on my proportions because technically everything else is better, but his face is too wide. So it needs to be a little bit more narrow. This is my grandmother. When I was back in the States last year, I had asked her if I could take a photo because I didn't have any new photos. Everything I have is basically something that my grandfather took in the previous decades. And they aren't really indicative of my memories to some degree because I was either a little kid or whatever. So I didn't have anything that was current. And so I had my camera ready, and she came in from walking the dog, I think, with her babushka and this like sweatshirt jacket on and everything. Then I asked her if I could take a photo. And yeah, her response was like this kind of smirk laugh and just like, all right, well, if you're going to, have at it. And this is what ensued. I really like it. This one I'm not super happy with, but I didn't spend enough time rendering it, so it's just really too contrasted in the shadows. It's kind of like a comic noir look. It was just a woman that I saw on the streets here in Belgrade by a bus stop, and I really liked the image, so maybe I'll go over it and do a bit more, but we'll see. I kind of just want to leave the sketchbook as is rather than changing things. This was, where did I draw this? I don't know where I was, where I only had blue ink, but this was just a guy that I had seen on, I think, public transportation in France by Mulhouse or Strasbourg. I don't know. I really like this suit and the pose. So. Again, not much else to it. This was a guy I was creeping on when I was waiting for somebody to pick me up in Spain, in Murcia, I believe. This guy was sitting next to me for a while, and he kept looking over. Like, I know that he knew that I was drawing him because this wasn't from a photo. This one was just the life drawing thing. So I know that he knew I was drawing him, and he kept turning, and I kept looking away and, like the inconspicuous whistling. And then, I don't know, I finally finished it just in time for him to get up and walk away. So I didn't get the bench or anything, but I didn't think it was really important. So, yeah, just me creeping. This is that same thing, but to a much larger extent. So this is when I'm at the airport, or this is the same guy, actually. This is the first sketch I did. I did these, I started the other one and then kept moving. So then I started drawing everyone that was coming up near me. So all of these people, aside from this one, and this one I guess was on a plane, and this was on a plane. But a lot of the people were walking around the street in front of me, so I was drawing them then. A couple of these were from the airport, so you can see like this one's airport, this one's airport. And I was filling them in later just because I didn't want to waste space. But this is just kind of gestural figure drawing, just to get some practice. This is also at the airport. Not the greatest drawing, but This is the same. Oh no, this is actually different. Same place I was sitting, but different views. I didn't like how this one turned out, so I tried to draw something just a little smaller to not focus so much on the detail, since I was trying to do something quick, just to capture the moment more, in like 5 to 10 seconds. Same for these. And this is somewhere in Budapest. I haven't done any architectural drawings in a while, and this one I pretty much hate. But yeah, it was good practice. It was something different. My perspective is just a bit off. So, and I don't have any connection to the building. I don't even know what it is. So there's just not some reason why I don't know. Yada yada. More of the weird faces. So there's not so much happening in this one. I mean, there is, but there's not. There's the main face here. There's another face here. There's another one here. There's another weird little face right here. And then I think it's just this woman, person. This one is here. I think that's it. I usually try to squeeze more in. I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting lazy or I'm just trying to focus more on just a few. I was trying to do something with the shadow, but obviously I didn't pay attention to how shadows work, because if the light is coming from this direction, just like the shadow from my hand right here, if the light's coming from this direction, I don't think this one would have been like this. Maybe I was just trying to, no, I was trying to fit it inside the boxes, so it cuts it off so it doesn't look, I don't know. Something just wasn't quite lined up right, so it screwed with the effect. More people sketching. Cafe sketching. I like drawing plants sometimes. They're really tedious, so it's kind of interesting to let my mind just go and focus on the details. At other times they bore the fuck out of me though, so that's why there aren't too many plant drawings. Except for lately. Lately there have been a lot of plant drawings. Waiting at the bus station to come back to Belgrade. This was once I was back in Belgrade, right around the time that coronavirus came about. So this is me waiting at a bus stop, and these two were also like waiting, just watching and watching and watching. And I started it there, and then I took a photo and I finished it later because the bus came. And yeah, I've gotten in the habit of taking a photo specifically so that if the bus comes, I'm not just left with like a partially finished page. Also, if the audio sounds shitty at times, like right now, it should be a little clearer. If it doesn't sound good, it's because I keep getting distracted and I'm not facing the mic. I'm facing the sketchbook. So yeah, I'll figure out a different setup for next time because this isn't the best. But bear with me. This is my great-grandfather, Rade Rudy. They called him Rudy in the US, but Rudy Bubalo. He always had crazy hair and this big hooked nose. I've never actually met him, but I've just seen a lot of photos. I usually try not to add so much line work to the face, but his always looked really weathered and lined in the photos that I've seen, so I kind of just let myself go with this one. This was a really drunk guy who was waiting for the bus, and I was just drawing him while I was on the bus, and then I didn't really like how it turned out, so I was doodling something else, and I think this was actually the guy with the accordion. Maybe it was my eye. I'm not really sure. Could be. There's a little dot here. But I kind of took this as, like, I lost interest. And then I turned this into, like, myself watching him, because I was basically just staring at the guy. Because he was sitting in the back with this little bottle, and he was just singing. He was just belting out this glorious ballad of a song. And, yeah, I don't know. He deserved to be drawn. I just didn't. And that was why I didn't want to look away. I don't know. I tried to make this into another little face because that was my way of saving it from being a complete waste, but I like it without it being a face, so it doesn't really matter. This was around the same time as everything. Most of these in this sketchbook I did around a few days span, because it was the last few days that I could actually go out before Belgrade had a curfew. And since I've always had some breathing issues, I wasn't really trying to spend more time outside than I needed to even before we had a curfew, because yeah, it was still present issue. Anyways, this guy, I was out there with a camera for probably 2 or 3 hours the one day. I think 2 hours. Just waiting near a crosswalk. And this guy, the photo that I caught of him, he was going to take a step on the curb and he wasn't jogging. I don't know what he was doing, but he jumped way higher than he needed to because the curb was only like this, like a normal curb. Sorry, like more like this if we're actually being literal. But his foot was this far above it. Like he really lifted it up there. He just didn't want to trip. And I really liked it. So that was, yeah, it's a weird looking thing. And maybe you just look at it and think that he's running, but with the context of it, it's a funny image for me. This is when I got bored with drawing the people that I had seen. And also, again, I couldn't see any people because I'm just spending time in the studio. So this was a photo based on a photo, based on a photo of me when I was a little kid. So this is like just a little me. And this is at my grandparents' house. So there was this scrap pile of wood that the goats and stuff would run around on. And so I was sitting there playing in the sand near it. And this goat was coming up to, I don't know, sniff me or something. But yeah, it was kind of a always thing. There were always so many goats at their house. So there aren't anymore because they can't take care of them. They're too old at this point. But yeah. Also, a lot of them, they didn't have goats for me, but like my mom, we also had goats, and it was because I couldn't drink cow's milk. So to get some sort of milk, we just had the goats that we would raise. More from the family photos. So there was this guy. I still don't know who he is. I asked after I drew it to try to figure it out, and nobody has any ideas. So hopefully if everything clears up and I can fly back to the US sometime this year, I'll ask my grandfather, because I really, really liked the photo of this guy. He looks really interesting and like someone you would want to meet. And I'm amazed with how the portrait of it turned out. Like I'm really, really, really happy because I wasn't trying to do one that looked like this. Not intentionally, and I'm really pleased with how it actually turned out. So yeah, need to practice more. But this got me into more detail because the one before of me and then this one, it just encouraged me to try doing a lot more with the detail work instead of quick sketches. So this is another family photo. This is my grandfather with my Aunt Annie. Yeah, I really like the photo. So this was one where I pissed off a homeless man. And just because I didn't pay attention to the settings on my camera. So I was walking along the street and I saw this guy walk out of the store and sit down, and he had like this stick next to him. He had this little pot that he was collecting change in. He had a bag with a few beers that he had just gotten. And he was just going to sit down on it's the crate that holds the beer bottles with a cushion on it. And he was sitting down, and then I went to take a photo, and he didn't do anything at first. And then I looked down, and I realized I hadn't changed the exposure on my camera. So I went to take another photo, and then he got mad. So that was the last one. So that's this. And the photo was super underexposed even then because I was rushing because he looked agitated. So yeah, just tried to make something work Anyways, this is my grandmother, but a bit younger, as you can see. So she had a few puppies that were just licking her face. Not the most successful drawing, but yeah. Back to my grandfather. Again, I was doing a lot of family photos at these points. This guy, grandfather, he was a photographer for years, for decades. So a few times, this past summer when I was there, I went and I photographed, not summer, this past year when I was there, I went and I photographed some of his photographs, but he has thousands of photos. Some aren't even developed. He just has the whole photo studio downstairs in their house full of something related to photos, the camera, the gear, the dark room, the prints, everything. And I had already scanned in a bunch of them before, so I have 700 or 800 on my computer. But there were a few more that I found, so that was what I was drawing with these. And then I got tired of, not tired necessarily, but I wanted to take a break because I figured everyone else doesn't give as much of a shit about my family photos. So yeah, I wanted to get back to drawing my photos. So this is another woman from Bulgaria. And yeah, she was just reading this newspaper. But this is one that I think lately I've been putting a lot more focus on actually rendering it out. And the pen that I'm using is just, what is it? Yeah, here. It's just a Lamy? It's just a regular fountain pen. So you flip it over and you do the fine details, and you flip it over this way and you can do thicker lines. But it has a lot of variation, and it's amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this one. I found another photo of her that I had taken, and she looked really pissed off looking at the newspaper. So something she saw after this one just really disgusted her. And I thought about drawing that because with some of the news lately, like I'm pretty sure that's been my expression as well. But yeah, hasn't happened yet. I just saw that this morning. So I think, yeah, that's it. So the sketchbook that I'm using is just, it's just a Strathmore 400. That's it. Just a standard, I don't know what this is, 5x7. It's, it's so hard for me to think about in inches right now. So I think it's like a 5x7, something like this. I think I'm done. So if you have any thoughts on it, if you have any comments, if you have any questions, let me know. I have a bunch of other sketchbooks, so I'm going to try and figure out which ones I really want to show. If there are any that I don't want to show, I don't know. I mean, this is one of them that is probably the most finished and refined. Some of the other ones are much more sporadic because it's a gradual change, you know, like I have the beginning sketches in here that look more like this, you know, like I didn't just go from doing this in 2015 to drawing something that looks like this. It didn't work like that for me. So there was this several year span where what I was drawing gradually changed. In 2016, I did a lot of architectural and landscape drawings, and I've always done a lot of people sketching. That's been something that I've always been interested in. But yeah, I mean, this is just one of the early ones. So this is one that you get to see, like me trying to figure out how I want to do my signature. And yeah, it's kind of an interesting development. All right. I'm not going to keep rambling. So yeah, hopefully this is remotely enjoyable. And yeah, let me know your feedback because I'm going to spend some more time going through other ones. I really like reflecting on my own work. So for me, it's just that. And if somebody else gets something else out of it, then that's a nice bonus. All right, just a note, if anyone wants maybe like a digital version of these, if you think it's useful that I would digitize some of these sketchbooks and put them online somewhere, let me know. I've been considering it, but I don't know. I just don't want to waste the time if it's not something that anyone is interested in seeing. So let me know. And if there are any kind of, I don't know, tutorials, I guess you could call them, anything that's concerning the way that I draw, and you want it to be broken down so you can understand it or try it yourself, let me know on that as well, and I'll try to make some videos.